Okay, let's unpack this. Today we're diving into some really potent ideas about building a remarkable life. These are pulled from highlights of a book, How to Live an Extraordinary Life.
That's right. And we're working from a set of curated excerpts that a listener actually shared with us. They offer these principles, these insights on, living with intention and achieving excellence.
Right. So our mission here in this deep dive is to really get into these principles. What are the core ideas? And maybe how can we pull out the most useful nuggets for you about living that kind of extraordinary life?
Yeah, the source material, it feels very direct,
Yeah.
action-oriented, doesn't really pull punches, seems packed with, like, practical wisdom.
Absolutely. So let's dive right in. The material seems to start by laying a foundation, putting a lot of weight on habits and mindset first.
It does, yeah. And it kicks off with a concept that sounds simple, but it's actually pretty profound. How you do anything is how you do everything. It kind of frames consistency as a superpower.
Oh, I like that. It's saying excellence isn't this like separate gear you just switch into for the big moments.
Exactly.
It's built bit by bit, in the small daily things. If you're habitually sloppy with, say, your emails,
Hmm.
it's probably showing up elsewhere too. That consistency in the small stuff becomes the foundation for excellence everywhere.
Precisely. And this ties directly into the next point they make. Today is practice for tomorrow. Your daily habits, they're not just these isolated events. They're actually revealing and shaping your future potential.
So if you want to know where someone's headed, look at their routine today.
Yeah, look at today. It's the compounding effect, of those consistent choices over time.
There's a great little phrase here, too, about making that consistency easier. Do it right. Do it light.
Yes, it's about building the right habits up front. So if you establish an effective system or an approach early on, maintaining it actually takes less conscious effort later.
Okay. The habit itself starts doing the heavy lifting, makes the consistency feel lighter. Okay, so that's habits. Then the material shifts over to mindset. And it really challenges our conventional thinking about something most people feel is outside their control. Luck. It just states luck is not real.
Right, and this is where it gets really interesting.
Mhm.
The source clarifies it's not like a mathematical denial of random chance. It's framed as a psychological principle.
Okay, how so?
The idea is that believing you are a lucky person fundamentally shifts your perception and your behavior. You become more open to opportunities. Maybe you frame setbacks differently.
Mm-hmm.
And that subjective belief can actually make you more receptive to good outcomes. And it creates this kind of self-fulfilling prophecy almost.
Sort of like that famous Chinese farmer story the source mentions.
Precisely. Yeah, for anyone who hasn't heard it, it's the story where a farmer, and these events happen, his horse runs away, which seems bad.
Right.
Then it comes back with wild horses, seems good. His son breaks his leg riding one, bad again. But then he avoids being drafted into a war because of the leg, which is good. And through it all, the farmer just keeps saying, maybe.
Avoiding those instant judgments.
Exactly. It's a powerful way to illustrate reframing random chance, recognizing that, initial misfortune might lead to unforeseen good stuff and vice versa. It's all about the mindset you bring.
And that reframing lens, it gets applied to challenges, too. The source suggests seeing puzzles, not problems.
Yeah. Instead of just defaulting to complaining or feeling overwhelmed, you view difficult situations as, like, intellectual challenges to be solved, something to engage your brain with.
Because, as the material points out, adversity creates opportunity for an optimist. And with a bit of tough love, most people would dream of having your problems.
Oof, yeah. It's a stark perspective shift. It doesn't dismiss your struggles, but it encourages seeing them in context and recognizing that difficulties, while they're hard, can build resilience, creativity, if you approach them with that optimistic, solution-focused mindset.
Wow. Okay, just the first section, and we've covered a lot. So, moving from that internal foundation habits, Mindset the Source really seems to emphasize intellectual growth, what it takes to be a lifelong learner.
It does. It lists observations about, quote, the smartest people I know. And some key traits include things like obsessively reading books, actively pursuing new mental models.
Okay, quick pause. Mental models, for listeners who might not hear that term often, what's the source getting at there?
Good question. Think of them as frameworks or lenses you use to understand the world, like concepts from physics or economics or psychology.
Different ways of thinking about things.
Exactly. Smart people actively seek out these different frameworks to better analyze situations, make decisions. It's about adding more tools to your cognitive toolbox. Got it.
And they also enjoy intelligent discourse, like genuinely engaging with ideas.
And crucially, they're quick to admit when they're wrong. And they're comfortable changing their opinion when they get new information. That's captured nicely in the line. Carve your ethics in stone. Write your opinions in sand.
Ooh, that's fantastic. So core values stay firm, but your specific beliefs, they should be flexible.
Right, it's about intellectual humility over just needing to be right all the time.
Yeah.
They also deliberately surround themselves with other intelligent people, and they make a conscious effort to understand every perspective on a topic, not just the one they started with.
The source also offers a really practical technique for generating original ideas, which sounds kind of counterintuitive. 2 crappy pages per day.
Yeah. It's not about producing polished work every single day. It's about committing to the process. It forces you to sit down, synthesize stuff, free associate, just get thoughts on paper, even if they're messy or, not fully formed.
So it's the consistency of thinking and writing, not necessarily the immediate quality.
Exactly. Valuing the act over the output, at least initially.
And the goal here is optimizing life for learning. The source uses this phrase, like gaining 2 years of experience 5 times. What does that mean?
That phrase kind of captures the idea of deliberately seeking diverse experiences, putting yourself in situations where you get rapid feedback, constantly reflecting. It's about accelerating learning and intuition.
So instead of just letting years pile up, you actively engineer situations for more intense learning.
Right. Compressed learning, basically.
So practically, how do you optimize that flow of information and experience?
The advice is pretty straightforward. Optimize your content diet. Actively seek out smart people. Ask them questions. Read good books, high-quality stuff. And when you hit something you don't know,
Look it up.
look it up immediately. Use search engines like a continuous learning assistant.
It frames information as a currency, suggesting that exposing yourself to different ideas, different perspectives, builds mental strength.
Yeah, it's not just about collecting facts. It's about building the capacity to process, evaluate, integrate diverse viewpoints. Grappling with ideas, even ones that challenge you, strengthens your intellectual resilience.
And the source notes this clear divide. There are the people who never stop learning, and everyone else. And those committed learners. They have a simple practice. They document good ideas.
Such a simple but powerful habit. Whether it's a notebook, a digital tool, whatever, capturing those insights means they aren't lost. They become building blocks for future thinking.
Okay, let's shift then from the internal world habits, learning, to the external world of action and excellence. This section seems all about getting things done and doing them well.
Yeah, it starts with the dedication required. Excellence doesn't have a watch, which highlights, the willingness to put in the time, the effort, to persist with enthusiasm even when it's hard.
Commitment beyond the 9 to 5.
Exactly, it's beyond the clock.
Which directly requires a bias for action. Effort creates action, action creates results. You can't learn or grow or achieve if you're just thinking about it.
Right, you got to do something. And that action needs completion. Finish what you start. The source links this need for completion to the level of obsession needed for greatness. It's not enough to have great ideas or start lots of things.
Seeing them through is key.
Seeing them through is paramount.
There's also a warning here against a common pitfall. Don't compare yourself to the bottom of the bucket.
Yeah, comparing yourself to the lowest performer, the lowest standard, it's just not productive. Instead, the source suggests adopting the mindset of like a professional athlete towards your business, your goals, your craft.
What does that look like?
It means hard work, obsession with getting better, studying the greats in your field, and just putting in the consistent reps, the practice needed for mastery.
And even your environment matters. A really simple, tangible point. Clear thinking can't happen in a messy room.
Striving for excellence extends even to organization, to order. A cluttered physical space. It can reflect or even contribute to a cluttered mental space.
Reinforces that how you do anything is how you do everything idea again.
Exactly. Even small acts of discipline impact performance.
Okay, let's pivot to career and business now. Taking insights from the source on navigating that professional landscape.
A key principle mentioned is protecting your creative capacity. Build things. Don't just get sucked into managing or talking or strategizing all the time. Actively engage in the process of creation itself.
And for advancing your career, the source has this old school strategy that never fails. Take work off your boss's desk.
Yeah, this is about being proactive. Indispensable, really. It means showing up early, consistently doing more than required, looking for ways to make your boss look good.
Staying late when needed.
Staying late when needed, absolutely. It's about demonstrating initiative and commitment beyond just the basic job description.
And regardless of your field, one skill is always valuable: communication. The source highlights this with a pretty blunt truth. Bad news doesn't get better with time.
Right. Communicate clearly, directly, promptly, especially when the news is tough. Procrastinating just makes it worse. Good communication builds trust, efficiency.
On managing time, the source reframes it as priority management, and it contrasts the maker's schedule, manager's schedule. Can you unpack that a bit?
Sure. It's a really useful distinction. Some roles, like creative work or deep problem solving, that's the maker's schedule, they need long, uninterrupted blocks of focus time.
Right. Deep work.
Exactly. Other roles, like leadership or coordination, the manager's schedule, are inherently fragmented. Lots of meetings, interactions. Understanding which kind of work you need to prioritize helps you structure your day effectively. You have to protect that deep work time if you're in a maker role.
That makes sense. The source also offers an interesting take on rules and organizations. Management makes the rules, management changes the rules.
Yeah, it's a reminder that many rules aren't like laws of physics. They're constructs people made up.
So, question them.
The implication is, yeah, if a rule doesn't serve a purpose or it's counterproductive, it's often possible to question it. Propose an alternative. You might even get it changed if you make a good case. Don't just assume everything's set in stone.
And when business problems come up, the source kind of simplifies it. It's just business, which it clarifies often means most business problems are ultimately people problems.
Right. Focusing on understanding the human dynamics, the motivations, the communication issues underneath a business challenge is often the most effective way to actually solve it.
There's a strong leadership principle mentioned too. Never ask someone to do something you are not willing to do.
Yeah, leading by example. It builds credibility, trust. If you aren't willing to roll up your own sleeves and do the tougher, mundane task yourself, you kind of lose the standing to ask your team to do it.
And finally here, building a personal brand is emphasized. Tie your identity to your own name.
In a world where platforms change, employers change. Your personal reputation built under your own name, that's the one asset you truly own. You can carry it with you, compound it over your whole career.
Okay, let's shift gears again. Let's talk relationships and people building connections, community. How does the source suggest you attract opportunities?
It uses this metaphor. Magnets attract opportunities. And it explains you become a magnet through simple, consistent actions. Reliably doing what you say you'll do.
Keeping your word.
Exactly. Responding quickly, concisely, and actively looking to make others around you successful. That reliability, efficiency, generosity, it draws people and opportunities to you.
Which leads right into the power of helping others. What can I do to help you?
Yeah, this is framed as a core principle of, reciprocity. The more you genuinely invest in helping other people succeed, the more that goodwill and opportunity tends to flow back to you over time. It's not always direct, but it circulates.
And the source stresses investing in people and experiences, even if it takes effort. Get on the plane.
Right. Don't shy away from making the physical effort to connect in person. Travel for valuable experiences.
Yeah.
Invest your time, your resources into building those meaningful relationships. Those investments often pay the highest dividends in, life satisfaction and opportunity.
There's an interesting distinction made about who you spend time with. Spend time with your peers. Why peers specifically?
Well, while learning from heroes or mentors is obviously valuable, the source highlights the unique value of investing time in your peers. These are the people you'll likely have more frequent, more accessible, more mutually supportive interactions with over decades.
The long game.
Exactly. Don't underestimate the power of that peer network.
And there's a specific, actionable technique shared for fostering deeper conversations. Host dinner for interesting people and ask them one particular question.
Yes. The question designed to kind of cut through the usual small talk is, what is the most impactful thing you have ever done for someone else, and why did you do it?
Wow, that's a deep one.
It really prompts reflection on core values, meaningful experiences. It leads to richer connections for sure.
And speaking of who you spend time with, the source talks about surrounding yourself with positive influences. Surround yourself with compounders. What are compounders?
These are people who are committed to growth, but in various areas, growing their knowledge, their health, their wealth, their relationships, all over the long term. Their presence has this compounding positive effect on your life too.
The source is pretty blunt here as well, also saying to fire boring friends. That sounds harsh.
It does sound harsh. Maybe framed more gently, it's about being intentional with your social circle. Surround yourself with people who uplift you, challenge you, inspire you people. The source calls winners. The idea is to, quote, sprint to keep up with them, using their drive as motivation for your own growth. It's less about firing and more about consciously choosing energizing connections.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Other relationship principles highlighted include really simple but powerful actions like call your friends for no reason. Just connect. Have great conversations.
Make people talk about themselves. That's a classic communication skill, right? Shows genuine interest.
Definitely. And genuinely caring is a life hack, which means being curious, honest, truly present with others. Authenticity fosters deeper connections.
Respect other people's time. Be direct, be honest, be punctual.
Yeah, valuing others' time demonstrates respect, builds your reputation as reliable, efficient.
And finally, a direct reminder. You don't get if you don't ask.
Whether it's asking for help, asking a question, asking for an opportunity, overcoming that hesitation to ask is often the only thing standing between you and what you want or need.
Let's turn to communication and conflict now, navigating ideas, disagreements. The source talks about clarity and efficiency first.
Yeah, simplicity signals mastery. The truly knowledgeable people, they can explain complex ideas in straightforward terms. If you can't explain it simply, maybe you don't understand it well enough yourself.
Good point. And slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
This one pushes back against that urge for just frantic activity. Don't confuse constant motion with actual progress. Deliberate, measured, high-quality action leads to smoother execution and ultimately faster, more effective results than just rushing around haphazardly.
When dealing with difficult interactions or disagreements, the source offers some pretty blunt advice. Never argue with a fool, especially online.
Right. Some arguments are just unproductive. They drain your energy, your attention. Recognizing when someone isn't operating rationally is key because, as the source says, you can't be rational with an irrational person.
Seems obvious, but hard to remember sometimes.
Very true. And this ties into intellectual humility in discussions. Change your mind when the facts change.
A core trait of smart people, back to that. The willingness to admit you were wrong, update your beliefs based on new evidence.
Exactly. And surround yourself with people who can do that too. Rigidity is a huge barrier to truth and growth.
And remember, you don't need to win every argument.
No. Recognize that people can have different opinions without either person being, fundamentally wrong or needing you to attack them.
Okay, finally, let's cover finance, health, and some broader life perspectives from the source. On finance, some simple, almost bedrock rules.
The most fundamental, spend less than you make. Conceptually simple, right? But arguably the hardest for many people to consistently do over the long haul.
True. And for investing, a cautionary note, rich people sell too early.
This highlights that psychological difficulty of staying invested when things get volatile. The urge to lock in profits prematurely because of fear or just short-term market noise.
So the counter advice is buy great assets and hold them forever.
Right. It underscores the power of long-term compounding. The best returns often come from simply holding quality investments for extended periods, letting them grow without constant trading.
Okay, moving to well-being, physical, mental. Some practical tips here, like walk outside daily.
Such a simple act.
He's
The overlooked but so valuable. Physical health, clearing the mind, connecting with the environment.
Yeah. Then no stress can withstand a proper workout.
Exercise framed as mental training, disguised as physical training. It's just a potent tool for managing stress, improving mood, building discipline.
And a huge pillar. Sleep is nature's doctor. The source lists specific tips for better sleep quality.
Yeah, things like increasing physical activity during the day so you're actually tired.
Makes sense.
Avoiding food right before bed, limiting alcohol and sugar, keeping your room and bed cold, and importantly, setting a consistent sleep alarm, even on weekends, to regulate your body clock.
They require discipline, but the payoff is huge.
Massive payoffs, yeah.
Okay, bringing in some broader life perspectives now. Life is full of power laws.
Like the 80-20 rule, but maybe even more extreme. It means that in many areas, relationships, work, results, investments, a really small percentage of the inputs, maybe like 5%, deliver the vast majority of the outputs, the 95%.
So the insight is?
Identify those high leverage areas and focus your energy there. Don't spread yourself too thin on the low impact stuff.
Pictures are memories frozen in time. A simple reminder.
Yeah, value and capture the moments.
Weird things can change the world.
This one celebrates independent thinking, unconventional ideas. Don't be afraid to pursue paths outside the mainstream. That's often where real innovation happens.
You can't live an extraordinary life sitting on your couch.
Huh, right. Experience is vital. You need it to build intuition, get real-world feedback. You got to put yourself out there, interact with the world, learn by doing.
Live your life as a documentary. What's that about?
I think it means don't get so caught up in planning, optimizing, or, viewing life through some perfect filter that you forget to simply experience it. Enjoy the journey in real time, the messy bits and all.
And a sobering but maybe motivating truth, we are all going to die.
Yeah. It underscores the finite nature of our time here. It serves as a powerful reminder to be intentional. Maybe consider doing something bold, courageous, ambitious with the time we actually have.
Relatedly, no one is thinking about you.
Which sounds harsh, but it's actually freeing, isn't it? Stop letting excessive worry about what others think dictate your choices. Most people are wrapped up in their own lives. Knowing this frees you up to focus on yourself. Pursue what genuinely matters to you.
And finally, resilience. Childhood is not a crutch.
Yeah, the source frames life's obstacles as tests. Tests of resilience, persistence, optimism. While past experiences definitely shape us, the focus should be on how we learn from challenges and move forward, not letting them define our current limits.
Wow, we have really covered a tremendous amount of ground in this deep dive.
We really have, absolutely. From, the fundamental power of daily habits and cultivating that resilient, opportunity-seeking mindset, the principles for intellectual growth, continuous learning, strategies for action and excellence in your work,
Navigating career, relationships with intention, handling conflict.
and even touching on practical wisdom for finance,
Yeah.
health, and just that broader perspective on life itself.
And these are all highlights, principles for living a life defined by excellence, intention, continuous growth, all extracted directly from that source material our listener shared.
Exactly.
So as you reflect on all this we've discussed, maybe take a moment. Think about which of these principles really resonates most with you right now. Or perhaps which one feels like the biggest challenge to actually implement in your own life.
Yeah, that's a good reflection point. And considering that stark reminder from the source, we are all going to die, and we have this finite amount of time.
Hmm.
What is one bold or courageous or maybe ambitious thing this deep dive inspires you to even just consider doing?
Leave yourself with that question to ponder.